Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. How we doing, baby? This is the voice in your ears, Adam Caplan, and I'm pumped today to be discussing UFC 276, a little bit about my purchase with the Apple Watch and how improving my step count daily has really made a difference in my overall health, my overall mood, and the overall amount of calories that I burn at the end of each week to help me get forward or to push myself more forward towards my weight loss goal. So I'm looking forward to sharing all those topics with you. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share any of the audio podcasts that I put out, any of the video on YouTube, and of course the Instagram reels as well, that you could go ahead and see at the AC Radio. That's the AC Radio on Instagram. And of course, just AC Radio on YouTube. So let's get right into it. UFC 276, International Fight Week. You know, before the pay-per-view started, we saw that Khabib Nurmagomedov and the great Daniel Cormier were inducted into the UFC's Hall of Fame that they did at the T-Mobile Arena in Las Vegas. And, you know, to quote Ariel Helwani, that just made the overall feel of the event that much bigger. The fact that it was not in a theater or an amphitheater, but the fact that it was in an arena, and a great arena like the T-Mobile Arena. So, you know, congratulations to Khabib and Daniel Cormier and all of the others that got inducted into the Hall of Fame for various reasons, whether it was a fight of the year, you know, a performance of the year, or perhaps just their overall career. So hats off to them. American Kickboxing Academy, AKA, is, you know, just again cementing themselves in history. So just a huge, huge feat for everybody. But, you know, UFC 276, I mean, we opened up the main card with the Suga show. Sugar Sean, you know, Sugar So Sweet versus Pedro Munhoz. You know, Sugar Sean will always have a special place in my heart due to the fact that he was the first fighter that I had recapped and previewed for my last podcast, The Unanimous Decision. So Sugar Sean will always have a place in my heart, which is why I'm looking forward to covering him right now. I mean, you know, got his first ranked opponent in Pedro Munhoz. Fight didn't play out the way we had wanted it to as fans, and especially for both fighters as well. The fight ending due to an eye poke. Munhoz was not able to continue. And, you know, look, as soon as you tell the doctor that you can't see, or you're seeing black, or you're seeing spots, I don't care if you take the full 5 minutes. The reality is you are not going to be able to continue the contest. And that's exactly what happened. But, you know, we saw in that first round that Munhoz was a lot more tentative to engage with the boxing, was just utilizing those leg kicks, which, you know, is always funny to me because, you know, everyone makes it seem like leg kicks is this new thing on the block, which it's absolutely not, number one. And number two, you know, the fact that O'Malley had a rough time against Marlon Chito Vera due to those leg kicks, folks think that, you know, that's his Achilles heel, and every time he'll get struck with leg kicks, he'll succumb to that nerve damage, which essentially, you know, proceeded with him against Vera having that limp and unable to continue. So it's always so funny to me that immediately they go to the leg kicks for that. But I saw the strategy. Pedro Munhoz was using those leg kicks to slow down the footwork and I guess the speed of Sugar Sean. And, you know, it did fare. I would say that he did win the first round. You know, O'Malley wasn't necessarily able to implement his game plan due to the fact that it looked as if he was, you know, looking to counter a lot, was looking to get his boxing going through countering. And due to the fact that Munhoz wasn't using any boxing whatsoever, O'Malley wasn't really able to get the momentum going on his boxing. You know, and we've seen in the past that what really accelerates the offense of Sean O'Malley is once he's gotten those counterattacks in order, once he's found his opponent's timing, found his opponent's range, then you start to see him become a little bit more of the initiator. But until then, while he's downloading that data, he likes to utilize the counter strike. So that's why we didn't really see too much of Sean O'Malley in that first round. You know, not to say that he wasn't firing back with teeps to the body. He wasn't throwing his right hand. He also wasn't utilizing his spinning back kick, because he was doing all of those things. But really what makes Sean O'Malley is the way that he lands those punches right down the pipe. And, we weren't able to see that due to the fact of Munhoz more reluctant to engage on the boxing side and was more or less just keeping a distance and trying to fire away those leg kicks. And in the second round, we could start to see the pace being picked up a bit, hence why we saw a nut shot, a kick to the nuts, and then after that, unfortunately, it was that eye poke, but it was starting to seem like things in the action were going to pick up. So, excuse me there. A little bit of a disappointing scenario for both fighters. But, that's the way the cookie crumbles in the octagon. We get so hyped up for these big fights, and, unfortunate events like this happen, kind of like a McGregor-Poirier 3 with the leg break, So this is kind of part of the game. Now, what's interesting to me is a lot of folks saying how Munhoz, was kind of looking for a way out, and the eye poke didn't seem that severe. I mean, look, the doctor has confirmed that the cornea of Pedro Munhoz is in fact scratched. So it definitely wasn't a fake. It definitely wasn't a cop-out. And I think more so fans are a little bit disappointed in the fact that we didn't get to see the Sugar show. I think that that's really what's irking everybody, is we didn't get to see an emphatic knockout. We didn't get to see a masterclass of striking capabilities. And, that'll definitely leave people with a sour taste in their mouth. And, folks are wondering where do both fighters go from here? I mean, look, we don't know how long it's going to take Pedro to heal up, number one. And number two, we don't know if Sean O'Malley is going to be interested in doing that rematch. I would love to see the rematch. I don't think we really got much from that, 7-8 minutes that went on in the octagon. So I think it would be a great opportunity for the fight to happen again. However, should it not happen, I'm only going to go on Sean O'Malley's side and mention who I think he should fight. I mean, look, Rob Font has been somebody on O'Malley's radar for a long time now. On the Timbo Sugar Show and the Bromalley Brothers podcast, which are both of Sean O'Malley's podcasts, we've definitely seen him or heard him mention Rob Font's name countless times. So I think that Font would be a great opportunity. Perhaps Song Yadong, which seems like I'm going back in time here because that's who I thought he was going to fight after he knocked out Eddie Wineland. And now it seems to me like that's still a possibility. You obviously have the Marlon Vera fight, which I think should be given a little bit more time to marinate. Let's let that fight marinate more with both guys on the winning fronts. And, for now, I'm looking at Rob Font, Song Yadong, and then, Ricky Simon. So it's not really any different, the matchups for O'Malley, than it was prior to beating Paiva. So, this is what it is for O'Malley. And like I said, it wasn't a bad performance by anybody. Just not enough happened in the fight where we were able to see where this was going to go for the remainder of the second and third round. So that was just a huge disappointment. Sad, but part of the game, as I always like to say. And, the Sugar Show went on. He was at Zook nightclub with the Nelk boys. Congratulations to Sean O'Malley for now being a part owner in the number one seltzer in America, Happy Dad. So congratulations to Sean O'Malley. A great investment for a great product. You've seen me drink Happy Dads plenty of times on the AC radio show. And, I still stand very firmly on being the number one guy in Canada to bring the most cases back to the Great White North and, to enjoy them since we can't get them here. Not really the greatest statistic, but you know what? If you could be first place in something, then maybe you could be first place in all things, It's like Ricky Bobby once said, if you're not first, you're last, baby. So that's kind of the read-in on the Sean O'Malley fight. After that, we had Robbie Lawler versus Bryan Barberena, which I'm not going to spend too much time on. All I'm going to point out is that Robbie Lawler in the first round looked like a new version of himself. Had a beautiful bounce in the feet on the strikes, was using his hand blocking and his head movement phenomenally. Honestly, some of the best I've ever seen in the octagon. You just don't really see fighters really bringing up those hands as much as boxers do. You know what I mean? So that was really, really nice to see. A lot of the times MMA fighters just tend to move out of range instead of staying in the pocket and utilize their head movement and their hand blocking. So that was really cool to see. But as we saw in the second round, that energy that was being used in the footwork was starting to wear on Robbie, and Bryan Barberena was starting to find his range. Who also didn't back down and stayed in the pocket. So, what ended up happening is Lawler got caught on top of being fatigued, which really slowed his legs down as well. And once Robbie Lawler was found up against the cage, Barberena landed a few tough strikes, and you could start to see the wind and the life getting sucked out of Robbie Lawler. That was all she wrote. So, a big ups to Robbie Lawler, who looked like, in a sense, he was able to revamp different parts of his career. But, on the flip side, you could see that Father Time has indeed caught up. And that opportunity gave Bryan Barberena to finish the fight, who essentially just came forward, had no fucks given. Every time Robbie threw, he made sure to throw back, whether they landed or not. But once you saw that Barberena was able to land, to figure out his range and really land those strikes, it was starting to turn downhill for Robbie Lawler. And, you hate to see it, but, it's part of the game, man. And if, it would have been Robbie, who was usual Robbie, more flat-footed, ready to brawl, etc., and then the fight just got finished, that would be one thing. But the fact that we're still seeing some changes and tweaks in Robbie Lawler's game, that's usually a good sign for longevity in the Ultimate Fighting Championship. So, always my hats off to Robbie Lawler, a legend of the game, an absolute fucking beauty. And, Bryan Barberena was the better man that night, so congratulations to him. And, that brings us to Alex Pereira versus Sean Strickland. I mean, Mr. Sean Strickland, if that is one weird-ass dude, I don't know, man. That guy is out there. He is out there like the aliens on Mars, Jupiter, and Saturn. And, he got faced with a tough opponent in Alex Pereira, who's a former Glory kickboxer, has 2 victories over Israel Adesanya, one of them which knocked him out clean. And, seems as if they're building that storyline for Israel Adesanya and Alex Pereira to fight. And after last Saturday, you could bet your ass that that's going to happen. So, listen, the theme of that fight is Alex Pereira was going to the body with his straight punches and his body kicks. And Sean Strickland already holds his hand quite low, both of his hands quite low, and uses little to no head movement. So what happened is Pereira just used the old boxing trick of going to the body, going to the body, going to the body, forcing your opponent's defensive habits to start dropping the hands even more, and then over the top you go and you smack that guy right in the chin. And that's exactly what happened. I mean, once Strickland noticed that Pereira's game plan was to go to the body a lot, his hands seemed to be dropping lower and lower, and he was reaching downward for strikes. And that's when Pereira went over the top with that left hook, put Sean Strickland on skates, and then finished up that boxing and knocked out Sean Strickland. So not a lot there, except for the fact that Pereira is obviously the real deal. And, is obviously somebody that will be facing Israel Adesanya next, because that is just a great, great, great storyline. Pereira is tough as nails. The guy hits like a Mack truck, and he doesn't give a shit if you're ranked or not in the UFC. He is coming for blood. And Sean Strickland was the perfect opponent. I mean, he's a character, number one. Number two, he's definitely a beatable opponent who has shown holes in his game and, has won decisively, but not in a world-beating presence. And then you add into the fact of his actual kickboxing style where his hands are lower, and then he also, doesn't keep that chin tucked and doesn't utilize his head movement. That's kind of what you saw happening there. So congratulations to Alex Pereira, who looks like he's going to be fighting Israel, the last style bender, Adesanya, for the UFC's middleweight title. Got my pink sippy cup. No happy dad today because I'm recording during the day on Monday. So got to keep it kosher, got to keep it clean. Then we got the co-main event, baby. We got Alexander the Great Volkanovski versus Max Blessed Holloway. And I mean, look, the lead up to this fight was just so energetic. You know, Max Holloway was screaming, "I am the heat, I am the heat." And Volkanovski was firing back saying, "Look at you, you're down 2-0 against me. You need the fans. You need the external energy more than I do. I'm here for blood. And you're here for the lights, the camera, and the action and the belt second, and I'm not here for that." And, you know, I don't think that's the case. Max Holloway is definitely here for the bout. But, you know, listen, 50-45 across all the judges' scorecards. Volkanovski looked fantastic. You know, for the shorter, smaller guy, utilized his boxing from the outside like a champion. You know, had a great jab, was landing that jab all day, all night, still kept the same theme as the first two fights with the leg kicks, was able to reverse himself out of tough positions up against the cage in the wrestling front, especially when Holloway had his back. And, you know, just always looks like he is getting better and better and better in the octagon. And that is a true sign of a champion. And it's pretty obvious now what's next for Alex Volkanovski is to try to challenge for the 145-pound, for the 155-pound championship, and to try to go for that champ accomplishment. Because I'm not seeing anybody else in the featherweight division, you know, that is going to challenge Alexander the Great. I mean, look, man, that jab was there all night. The power was there all night. The cardio was there all night. He utilized the leg kicks. He was confident up against the cage against Holloway. He outclassed Holloway in every step of the way. And on top of that, Holloway is the bigger guy who always comes forward, okay? Volkanovski had to deal with that presence and that pressure of Holloway staying in his face for 25 minutes straight. And that's no easy task. That is no easy task at all. I mean, you know, we've even seen it in Suga Sean versus Chris Moutinho, how having a guy in your face for 15 to 25 minutes, you know, whether you're winning the fight or not, is enough of a challenge in itself. So I really take my hat off to Alex Volkanovski, who just showed like his boxing took another 2-3 levels in the octagon. You know, again, the shorter and smaller guy, but was landing that jab from the outside and controlling the pace of the fight from the outside as if he was the taller, rangier fighter. So just a phenomenal, phenomenal win for Alexander the Great. I don't know what's next for him. I don't see anything in the featherweight division. I'm hoping that we could get something done in the lightweight division. I mean, come on. If you guys don't think that Michael Chandler versus Alex Volkanovski, two stocky, thicker, explosive fighters in the octagon, would be a crazy fight, I can't help you then, ladies and gentlemen, because to me, Michael Chandler versus Alex Volkanovski is definitely the fight that I would be making next. I love the shit out of that one. So, you know, congratulations to Alexander the Great. You know, Big Volk always getting in there, putting on better and better performances, utilized that jab like a true boxer, then was able to finish his strikes as usual with that fantastic leg kick, and just showed like he has an ever-going gas tank. You know, it seems as if Alex Volkanovski runs on diesel. Okay, he don't run on regular or supreme gas, and he certainly isn't running on an electric vehicle or a charge rather. You know, he's running on diesel fuel. So congratulations to Alexander Volkanovski. And, you know, then we had his teammate. Then we had his teammate, sorry about that. Then we had his teammate, Israel Adesanya, taking on Jared Cannonier in the main event. You know, Cannonier is somebody that Izzy is highly regarded for many of years, and has said it in the backgrounds and in interviews that, you know, Cannonier is going to be the dark horse of the division, and that's going to be somebody that I'm going to be fighting soon. And, you know, that was certainly the case. Listen, fans aren't necessarily happy with the way the fight went, probably because there wasn't a finish. But you know what? What folks need to realize is it takes two to tango. You know, I didn't feel like Cannonier pressed the action as much as he would have liked to and took enough risks in order for there to be more action, or in order for there to be a clearer path to Cannonier winning the fight. And on Izzy's end, I mean, listen, Izzy said it himself. He didn't have the power in his shots. Whether that's an excuse or not, I don't really care. But Izzy, noticed that Cannonier was adjusting very well throughout each round, which made it more difficult for Izzy to implement his game plan. But on top of that, I mean, Izzy was landing the kicks to the body and the legs all night, was able to land those long, rangy straight punches, and overall still did enough, more than enough, to get the victory. Now, I think one of the things that fans are having a hard time with is when you look at a guy like Khabib or George St. Pierre, when they're dominating the fight for 25 minutes or 20 minutes of the fight, it's most of the time due to the grappling aspect, which means that they are immobilizing their opponent. They are on top of them. They are completely taking away all of their tools to be able to implement their game plan. Izzy is a stand-up fighter. He is stronger in the striking realm. So the thing is that if he goes 25 minutes on the feet with his opponent, because his opponent has the freedom and has the liberty to use the space, implement some stand-up tactics, etc., it almost looks as if Izzy is not dominating the fight completely because he is not incapacitating or immobilizing his opponent. But that's simply not true. Izzy, time and time again, like we've seen against Yoel Romero, like we've seen against like we just saw against Cannonier, and we've seen against the likes of other opponents, they are too hesitant to take that risk due to the fact that they know how strong of a counter striker Israel Adesanya is. And just because there's a little bit of that hesitancy, it doesn't take away from the inactiveness of what Izzy's doing. In fact, the fact that he's hesitating his opponents from taking a risk goes to show you how active he's actually being with the small looks and tells and adjustments that he's doing, without throwing the actual strikes. And when you're watching the fight just for the significant damage, then you are missing over 70% of the actual fight. So guys, I challenge you to actually watch what Izzy's doing in there, because, all of the movement with his head, his hands, his footwork, his feints, etc., these are all small tactics that are freezing his opponents from being able to implement their game plan. And it takes two to tango. If Izzy doesn't have an opponent who's going to engage on him and go for broke, then it's not going to work. And one of the downfalls I felt that Cannonier had is he needed to fight Izzy. Okay. It's like in boxing, you have a term. It's like, when someone like Devin Haney or Shakur Stevenson gets in the ring, they look to box their opponents, or Floyd Mayweather. They look to box their opponents. The reason why Manny Pacquiao or Canelo or Anthony Joshua are more popular is because sometimes they go away from being the boxer in the ring and they go more towards being the fighter. And I think the difference in beating Israel Adesanya is not trying to beat him at his own game, but quite the opposite, where you just go straight at him and you fight. And I understand that going straight at him without proper head movement, footwork, setting up your strikes is a complete fucking write-off, and you shouldn't do that. But what I mean is that you cannot fall into the snake charming that Izzy presents to you. You need to forget about his game plan and only implement your own. And part of that has to do with not always thinking and wondering and focusing on being always the most intelligent fighter, but sometimes you have to be the fighter who gives less fucks in the octagon. And I think that is one of the keys to beating Israel Adesanya, minus the wrestling and the grappling, is who is going to be the opponent for Izzy who's going to give the least amount of fucks to be able to, provide their game plan to the fullest extent. And I don't think we've seen that in the octagon thus far, except perhaps Jan Blachowicz. But I didn't think it was that Jan gave less fucks or wasn't afraid to take risks. He just took the wrestling route. So I think that Jared Cannonier's detriment was due to the fact that he didn't take enough risk. He was, focusing too much on what Izzy was doing and not enough about what he could do to, implement his strengths and land those significant strikes and that power. So, I never want to tell a fighter not to be more intelligent because, quite frankly, I'm just a guy behind the camera. I'm not the person in the octagon, so I don't ever try to tell a fighter anything. But what I'm saying is one of the actual keys to beating Israel Adesanya is being a fighter who gives the least amount of fucks about what Izzy has to give on the other side. You got to completely forget about what Izzy has in his arsenal and only focus on what you have in your arsenal. And I think that that was something that Kelvin Gastelum was pretty successful at. So hands off to Israel Adesanya. Looks like his next opponent is going to be in sights, Alex Pereira. And we're looking forward to that because there is a whole backstory behind that. And you know what, guys? If you were worried about Israel not getting into an exciting fight anytime soon, that next one is going to be the one for you, ladies and gentlemen. So stay tuned to that. And a big congratulations to all the fighters in that, oceanic region, the New Zealand and Oz fighters who, have completely stepped up and really taken and staken a claim in the UFC. So congratulations, a great event overall. And I just want to tip my hat to Donald Cowboy Cerrone, who hung up the gloves after losing to Jim Miller by guillotine. Jim Miller and Donald Cerrone were actually fighting for the most wins in octagon in UFC history. And Jim Miller obviously won that, with I believe 23 or 24 wins. And Donald Cerrone is second now with 22 or 23 wins. So, a huge congratulations to Cowboy Cerrone. If you haven't seen that emphatic finish that he put on against Rick the Horror Story, go on YouTube and watch that. Go and check out the head kick knockout against Adrian Martins. And, guys, Cowboy is just such a fucking legend. And he hit the nail on the head. He said, I don't love doing this anymore. I'm out of here. And to hear a fighter admit that warms my heart. Because I think that a lot of people don't realize that fighters are some of the best and greatest liars in the world. So whenever I see a fighter speak from the heart and speak with true honesty, I appreciate it 50 times more than the average person speaking from the heart and speaking truth. So congratulations to Donald Cerrone. A WEC veteran, a UFC veteran, one of the most winningest fighters in UFC history, one of the most active fighters in the UFC. Overall, just a great soul. Good luck in your Hollywood career and knock him dead in the movies, baby. Congratulations, Donald the Cowboy Cerrone. Little water break. So nice. They named it twice. No, they didn't. Moving on, guys. So I bought the Apple Watch. I caved in. I said, hey, you know what? I'm looking to get a little bit more data in front of me. I want to be able to count, how many kilometers my walks and my runs are. I want to see how many calories I'm burning on those walks and runs. I want to see how many calories I'm burning when I'm lifting weights or when I'm boxing. I got to say, I don't regret it at all. I don't regret it at all. It's a fantastic, fantastic tool. You have, your move goal, which is how many active calories you'll burn in a day. I've set mine to 1,000. By the time you'll listen to this, it'll be at 1,200. And then after that, my move goal, which is essentially how many, or my activity goal rather, is how many minutes a day I work out. I've set to an hour. I've crushed over an hour each time. And then we have our stand goal. I'm a personal trainer, so I don't need to worry about standing all that much. But I just want to tell you guys, if you're sick and tired of guessing how many calories each workout you've done, how many calories you've actually burnt, what your average heart rate was, etc. If you're sick of guessing and wondering, then the Apple Watch is for you. Okay, having that data in front of you, knowing how many calories you've burnt in an exercise, okay, is really, really crucial and important, because I think a lot of the times as humans, we either under or overcut ourselves. It's really hard for us to find that honest balance of self-assessments of ourselves. So sometimes we'll go into a strength workout, and just because our muscles are completely ripped up and depleted doesn't mean from a caloric standpoint we've burned that many. And on the other side, just because you went on a 5K run and you were completely out of breath doesn't mean you actually burnt as many calories as you did. So having this data in front of you and knowing the exact amount of calories that you've burnt or the distance you've traveled really makes for an easier time in the kitchen, because then you know how many calories you actually need to eat in order to stay in a deficit or to reach for that caloric surplus. So if you're sick and tired of that guessing game, go and get yourselves an Apple Watch, set those goals, and you get daily reminders and kind of like little notes of like a push. Hey, Adam, great job this week. Let's see if you could do it for 3 more days, and they give you different awards for what you've accomplished. And although it seems stupid at first, but you know what? Once you get into a groove and you see, hey, I burned 900 calories, I got 100 left, you're going to go for that extra 100 on that walk. You're going to go for that extra 100 in your strength session. Why? Because you have the data in front of you that will then attack your ego and will attack that competitive nature that we all have within. And obviously, I do know that because the watch is on the wrist, it isn't always necessarily the most accurate versus the chest strap. But I have done my research, and I have had friends in the industry that have cross-referenced with chest straps. And to be honest with you, the Apple Watches may be off at most by 100 calories. And I really wouldn't worry about 100-calorie difference, because realistically, it's only 100 calories, and nothing in this life is actually going to be truly accurate rather. So if you're looking for something that's going to track data in terms of how many calories you've burnt, how far you've traveled on your bike cycles and your cycles, runs, and walks, or you want to know how little or how much calories you're burning in a strength session, and you also want something that's going to help refuel and revamp and constantly give you that competitive nature, then you got to get the Apple Watch, baby. You got to get it. You got to get it, man. Like, listen, it's a great fucking product. I have raised my activity level tenfold since I've gotten it. Why? Because it taps into my competitive nature. And if you're even more competitive and you like to be competitive with not only yourself, but others, you could synchronize it where you and your buddies who have Apple Watches are in a group together. And now you're all comparing who had the most calories burnt throughout the day, throughout the week, who moved the most amount of hours, etc. And now you're building healthy competition with your peers. And I think that is a great tool as well. So just for the simple fact that now, maybe I've always thought that I was burning 800 calories in a day and I was really burning 5. Now that I set my caloric goal to 1,000 to 1,200 a day, you bet your ass I'm hitting it every single time. That's number one. Number two is there's 3 rings. There's a move one, an activity one, and then a stand one. And your goal is to close those rings every single time. So again, it's just another tool to help revamp that competitive nature. And that's what I love about the product. It's not the flex, it's not the tech, it's not anything to do with that. It's not anything to do with the external. It's all the internal. The reason why I love the Apple Watch is the internal satisfaction that I get from it. It's raised my my competitiveness with myself. It's raised my activity. It's made me feel like you could always do more. And most importantly, now when I'm weighing out my food, using my Fitness Pal, using my food scale, I know for a fact how many calories I am putting into my body. Okay, so that's why I love the Apple Watch. And, last week I did 110,000 steps in a week, which is fantastic. The average person is barely even hitting 4,000 to 5,000 in a day. So, I have been able to double, maybe even triple my step count, just being conscious of it. And, I have also been using walking as a tool for exercise. And I know a lot of you guys are thinking, oh, it's just a walk. It's nothing crazy. I walk every day. I don't lose any weight. Well, you know what? Listen, the blessing and the curse to using walking as a form of exercise is that because it's a steady state form of cardio, you're not going to burn as many calories as you would if you were jogging or sprinting. But the thing is due to the fact that it's low impact, you could do it longer and more frequently. Okay. That's number one. Number two is you could also get on a podcast, call a friend, call a family member, listen to an audiobook, get outside, get that vitamin D, get the rays on your skin, rejuvenate yourself, with those phytos from the earth itself. And I'm not trying to get all hippie-ish on you, but it's facts, man. Because we're always around artificialness, whether it's the social media we watch or the light that is lightening the room in front of us, it's all artificial. But when you go out for that walk, never having a protein shake before a podcast again, ladies and gentlemen, I got that protein gas coming, and it ain't coming through the back door. It's trying to come up the front door. So, before you block your nose. It really does help revamp all of those things. Everything around us is always so artificial, whether it's the food we're eating, the light source we're using, the content we're absorbing, etc. But you go on a walk, you set, you set the intention to go for 3, 4, 5K. You turn your Apple Watch on, you put on a great podcast, you call a loved one, you listen to an audiobook, you got the beats going or whatever I just named before, you got the sun shining down on your skin. You're unbeatable, man. You're unbeatable. Do not neglect your walks. If you think you are too good to walk, then you're probably too good to talk too. Okay? So cut the bullshit. Go out, get your walks, get your steps in, because it's always the simplest, easiest, smallest things that we are skipping out on that are truly the real building blocks to the end journey and the end goal where we want to be. So put on those headphones, put your nicest sunshades on, put those Nikes on your feet, put the beats in the ear, and go for a walk, ladies and gentlemen. Get your steps up, get your sun in. And last but not least, my goal for July is 28 days, no restaurants. I went out to eat this past weekend because it's been 11 years with my lovely wife. Shout out to Karen. I love you, baby. Not Karen, but Karen. Shout out to Karen. I love you to death. My baby mama to be, my wife, my everything, 11 years together. So, we went out to one of our favorite Thai places. But as of today, no restaurants for 28 days. I'm going to be walking a minimum of 100,000 steps a week. And I'm really looking forward in the first episode of August in terms of letting you guys know how that goal went, how much weight I lost from it, and, what will be my August lifestyle goals. It's not diet. It's not fitness, it's lifestyle. Okay. So that's AC Radio today, baby. UFC 276. Why I think you should get the Apple Watch, and the importance and the value in walking every single damn day. And also, what are your goals for July? What are your lifestyle goals? I want to hear them. And if you don't have any, you better fucking think of some. AC Radio, we're out.